Renegades Football League, what's happening? It's your commissioner, MDC. I want to welcome y'all to the 2020 season, Man 21 version of the RFL. This is a CFM league, of course. Everybody knows that by now. Everybody's in. We got about 16 members at this point. Just want to give you a quick video, man. I wanted to, things kind of happen real fast in regards to us jumping off the league. And I just want to give you a broad stroke of what's going on with the league. And there's a couple of different things we want to do differently than we do at MNFL for those that are in the MNFL. But, there's a couple of tweaks because we have about half a league here. And I always want to, give y'all an overview of how we're going to conduct things. Now, I will say that it's going to be predominantly like the MNFL. Like all the basic rules are the same. All the basic rules are the same. Only thing that'll probably be different is the advanced days, number one. And the way we treat CPU games, number two, is going to be the only big difference about how we do those things because we have less people in this league. So I'm hoping to get more people. If you know anybody that wants to join, let me know, so we can get them in and we can see how they how they fare in the league. But overall, if we're going to go with this particular groups, going forward, I just want to let everybody know what's the deal. Of course, I'm the commissioner of the league. Vince, the Browns, he's the co-commissioner. Five is the dean of discipline, and D-Bev is the press manager and the social media director. So those are for your four officers. If you have any administrative concerns, please direct them to those parties. Also, just like I said, we'll probably tweak and send out a rule set. As soon as D-Bev can get around to it. We can let you know exactly brand them with the RFL logo and things of that nature. But it's same thing as always as MNFL. We have Daddy Leagues. It's daddyleagues.com/renegades. So if you want to check that out, join that site. So you can become a member of the site, so you can be a part of the page. Because Daddy Leagues is the same as _MNFL, just a different URL extension. As always, we have a Twitch channel. We have twitch.tv /renegades_network. We have that. But after that, outside of that, everything's pretty much the same. Like I said, everything's pretty much it. Once you see this video, it'll be on the Renegades website, YouTube. We have a YouTube channel for that as well. Overall though, man, I think everything's, pretty much it. The trade deadline is the same, trading is the same. I will say this though, because we have so many CPU teams, there's no CPU trading at this time. No CPU trading. You only can trade with human players, right? So just, going forward for right now, CPU trading is not on the books. So you cannot trade with the CPU players. You can still as practice squad players just like anybody else, but you can't trade with the CPU players. Like I said, outside of that, man, it's pretty much cool. Advanced days are as such. They're different from the MNFL. We do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 o'clock versus Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. So it's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 o'clock. So just be mindful of that. Hopefully everybody got in and they created a new coach. So we have that. Uniform rules and position rules are all the same. You wear, white on the road, you wear dark at home. When it comes to CPU games though, I will say this. Now you have the option. You have two things because, we want to keep the league moving forward and want to wait for a bunch of CPU games. So you have the option to either one, play the CPU for better or for worse one time, right? Unless you get disconnected, your power goes out, your internet drops or something like that. And you have to prove this. That your internet dropped or your power went out. You have to prove it and before you can restart. And once you have that issue, if you're playing a CPU, you have to let a person in the administrative office know before you restart the game. All right. So you can play the CPU if you'd like, for better or for worse, one time. Or you can accept a force win and just get the stats from the game because we don't want CPU players or CPU teams in the playoffs. We only want humans. So it shouldn't be a big issue with that, but overall, I just want to let y'all know that y'all have that option. So when the question comes up in the chat, are you going to play your CPU game or not? And play them as soon as possible. Don't wait because you don't have to wait for anybody. Just play them, knock them out. So if you do want to play them, so do that. And if you don't, and when all the human games are played, the question will come up in the chat, say, are you playing your CPU game and how quickly are you going to do it? If not, we'll force win in advance so we can keep the ball rolling. With the amount of people we got here, we should be able to get through weeks at a time without hesitation. So let's just get them in. All right, so that's the issue with the CPU. So like I said, everything else position-wise is the same. You can't change, certain players out of position and things of that nature. Same with the NFL. If you have any questions about that, please ask us. Roster minimums are still in effect. 3 quarterbacks, 3 tight ends, 7 O linemen, 5 D linemen, and 1 fullback. Draft picks is still the same. You're going to only have 2 first-round picks. You're going to have 3 second-round picks, and then your 3 through 7 are unlimited. All right. So if you have desyncs between your opponents, the rules will still apply. We can put those out in the chat if you need to. Like I said, aside wins and for his losses, you have to let us know if you were winning the game and the game was over based upon our rule set. And do we not, or will we be able to assign a forced win, or is it a restart? So you have to be mindful of that as well. I want to point out about Superstar X Factors, Superstar and X Factor players. You are not, by any circumstances, allowed to change the physical position of a Superstar or X Factor player. It will change their abilities and their X Factors. We're not doing that. Do not change any positions of a Superstar player or an X Factor player in the league. If you change the position, it will result in a multiple game suspension, maybe expulsion from the league. So do not change their position. You can play them out of position in your depth chart. So you can play a left end at outside linebacker or vice versa, but do not change their actual position in the edit screen. If you go to their card and edit them and you change them in their Superstar X Factor player, we found out about it, you're going to get suspended. So zero tolerance policy with that. So outside of that, I think a couple of different abilities are banned. Film study, Omaha, and human joystick. If those come up in development players that you develop through Superstar and X Factor players, we will manually re-roll them in front of the commissioner standpoint because we don't want those abilities in the league. But like I said, we'll rebrand all the documentation. But most of the stuff, if you're in MNFL, and I think all but 2 people are already in MNFL, you know all this stuff already. You're supposed to manage your own cap. Your cap is your responsibility. If you do things that hurts your cap, it's up to you to fix it. Fourth quarter rules, when can you go for and when can you not? There's a slight change with 4th and goal. 4th and goal, if you're inside the 5, you're allowed to go for it. All right, on 4th down instead of kicking the field goal. If you're losing or winning by 14, you're still allowed to go for 4th and goal, 5 yards or less, going into the end zone. Also, if you're backed up in your own territory, if you're on the less than year 5 or less in, backed up against your own end zone, you're allowed to use quarterback sneak and fullback dive to give yourself room. Only in those situations. You're allowed to use fullback dive and quarterback sneak only in situations where you're backed up in the red zone, backed up in your end zone, and you're allowed to run a fullback dive and quarterback sneak to give yourself some room. If you're backed up against your end zone, try to get you some space so you can get out of that danger area of getting safety. All right, so if you have any questions about that, please let us know. All right, no huddle rules still apply. Rush 3 always. You only get your clock, in the last part of the 4th quarter when 1:30 left on the clock. CPU rules. Now, this is important. CPU rules are important because we have more CPU games in this particular league. So understand there's still stat caps. In this situation. If your quarterback reaches 450 yards passing, you got to take them out. Running back, 250 yards. If they reach that threshold, you got to take them out. Wide receiver, 250 yards, you got to take them out. Tight end, same thing. 250 yards, you got to take those particular players out your lineup, and they cannot play for the rest of the game. So just to keep the thresholds and the numbers, reasonable and logical, we want to keep those stat caps in place. So understand that there are limitations on the amount of yardage you can gain for your offensive players, as well as mercy rule. If you're up 40 points on the computer at any point in time, you got to take your starting skill position players out, your quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. You got to take all your starters out and for your positional players. You can leave your defensive guys in if you so choose. Injuries are on, the injuries are real. So take that into account accordingly, but you got to understand that you can leave the defensive players in if it's your own risk, but those particular quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. So your first quarterback, your first running back, first 2 wide receivers, and your first tight end got to come out the game at a 40-point lead. All right. If you get down 40, you so desire to put them in again, that's your choice. But again, injuries are real. So, don't get greedy and mess around and lose your starters because you want to, get more stats. So understand that and, keep it pushing. If you do bet, you do get those particular thresholds broken, there will be suspensions. As well as banned plays, it's a list of, same list as the NFL, banned plays. Quarterback snap and sprint rules still the same. No fullback runs outside of you're backed up in your own end zone 5 yards or less. No quarterback sneaks unless you're backed up 5 yards or less towards your own end zone. Like I said, snapping and sprinting is not allowed. If you have anything that you want to bring up that's an issue, the rule has been broken, record it, switch it, or record it on Xbox and send it to us. Suspensions, first offense is 4 games, in most cases. Second offense is 8 games. Third is 16. Fourth is typically a league expulsion. Numbers are the same. Triple NFL numbers apply, just like, in the real league, your numbers should be accordingly on your players for, in this league as well. So, I guess you say running back shouldn't have, single digit numbers and things of that nature, like it's college. Have real NFL numbering rules. You have any questions about, overall, rules or anything like that, bring it up to 5 and he'll let you know, he'll clarify for you. If you got any disputes, there's a courtroom we can bring you into if you want to dispute a suspension. But overall, man, that's pretty much it. Like, it's the CPU games, are the force win. I want to reiterate that, either force win or play them early so we can keep the league moving and rolling. We can do those human games going and get to those competitive games that we actually want to see. Outside of that, man, if you got any questions, let us know in the chat. I appreciate everybody being engaged, being involved in the league, and being competing. Like I said, anything else you got to bring up, you want a clarification on, just let us know, man. But in the meantime, it's your man, MDC. I holla. Peace.